Hello, my name's Andrew Smith. I'll tell you more about myself in a moment, but first I want to make sure this topic really interests you. So let's get straight to the point. Now, if you're in business, the idea of having a good business plan will have at least crossed your mind. You can likely see some advantages in having a business plan, but because of the time and complexity involved, you may have put it in the too hard basket. Let me tell you a quick story about my frustration with business plans and how NASA helped me make business and project planning a simple and very rewarding process. I started my first full-time business when I was 23. Since then I've started or grown 7 other businesses. Most were successful, but 2 of them only moderately successful. More about these in a moment. I've also worked for a large multinational corporate and a large government organisation. In both my own businesses and in the corporate world, I found traditional business planning a frustrating process. So, let me explain why I wanted business plans. In my own businesses, and in particular the 2 least successful ones, I had a couple of problems that were really driving me crazy and getting in my way of achieving financial and emotional satisfaction. We would frequently come up with new product ideas, or ideas on how we would work smarter, or I might see a new business opportunity. Now, we always seem to start these projects with lots of enthusiasm, but we were not good at the implementation, and many projects were disappointing or never completed. Now, another annoying problem was this. When we had business peaks, we would frequently get overloaded, and because we lacked good systems, we would make stupid and sometimes costly mistakes. Maybe you can relate to some of these sort of problems. At times, I would really wind up getting stressed to the max. In desperation, I went looking for a solution. I read several books on business and project planning, and I attended several seminars on the process. But the complexity and work involved to do these plans just didn't make sense to me. It seemed to me that most business planning processes were designed by accountants or bankers. I'm more of an entrepreneur, and I like to think and plan visually. The traditional way of doing business plans just did not suit me. Maybe you can relate to this also. Now, here's what I wanted. Frequently, I would get very bogged down in the details of the business, to the point where I could only see the worm's eye view of what the business was really all about. What I really wanted was a holistic perspective, a way to understand the business as a whole, sort of have a helicopter perspective, and be able to manage the important details and action steps to make the business work well. I also wanted to get better buy-in and focus from my staff. As the saying goes, singing from the same songbook. Sales and marketing were also an issue. I wanted a plan so we could be better at marketing our products and services. At last, a breakthrough. The solution to my business planning problems came from a very unexpected source. I had the good fortune to be able to visit several NASA facilities in the United States that were involved in the Apollo 11 moon landing project. From this, I got to know some very knowledgeable people. They provided me with an in-depth understanding of how NASA turned the bold vision of landing a man on the moon into very practical action plans that achieved stunning success. Now, from this massive information, I gleaned a real gem. This was a relatively simple visual planning technique that NASA used to translate complex projects into easy-to-understand and doable chunks. Instantly, I recognized that this was the common-sense planning tool that I'd been desperately looking for. I was quite surprised on how such a simple procedure could create clear, organized thinking. Once I understood the basic principles of this NASA technique, I was able to adapt it to produce the sort of business action plans that I needed. The benefits were immediate and significant. Let me tell you about my first major use of my newfound planning tool. My wife and I attended a personal development training program in Toronto, Canada. We were so impressed with this training that we decided that we would like to set it up as a business in New Zealand. I used my simplified adaptation of the NASA planning tool to produce a simple business plan. This only took me about half a day. On a single sheet of paper, I was able to visually plan all of the important processes, events and tasks that would be needed to set up and operate this as a business in New Zealand. For the first time ever, I had clear, organised thinking before I started a new business. I could clearly see and understand the total scope of the new business project, and I had a good understanding of what needed to get done each month to make it all work. Plus, this visual plan proved to be a great communication tool. To launch this as a viable business, we needed to involve others with skills we did not have. When we showed them our visual business plan, which incidentally we mounted on the wall, they could quickly understand the complete business project we wanted to implement, and they could see where their skills and talents were required to get this business working effectively. When we launched this business, it was the most successful implementation of this type of personal development training in any country outside of North America. Over a 4-year period, we presented this program 31 times to over 1,500 participants. We then sold this business as a going concern and started 2 other training businesses. And yes, in both cases I used the same business planning method, and in both cases we achieved financial and emotional success. Now, how about you? Could you use a simple business planning tool like this to move your business forward? If the answer is yes, simply click on the link below and I'll show you just how simple business and project planning can be.